Welcome back to Get Up, and if you're just joining us, last night's Monday night doubleheader, the opening game, Ben Roethlisberger back for the Steelers, first game since week 2 of last year against the Giants. Late in the first half, Big Ben, oh, look at him running, scrambling for 11 yards, which is more yards rushing than Saquon Barkley had on the night for the Giants. Next play, Roethlisberger finding James Washington, and look at the fight from the wideout to get into the end zone. Roethlisberger, after something of a slow start, got sharp as the night went on. Steelers had a 16-10 lead there at the half. 5.5 to go. The Steelers' lead is 9. It's Roethlisberger. It's Juju Smith-Schuster. Big Ben threw 3. Juju caught 2 of them. Roethlisberger's 50th career game with 3 passing touchdowns. And the Steelers beat the Giants by a score of 26-16. So that was the early game. Then in the nightcap, Titans, Broncos in Denver. Less than 10 seconds left in the first half. Game tied at 7. Stephen Gostkowski, just signed by Tennessee just this week. He misses a field goal as his 44-yard attempt blocked. He went 0 for 2 in the first half on field goals. Fourth quarter, Titans down 1. Second and 4, the Broncos 29. That's Derrick Henry. He had 31 rushes for 116 yards. Sets up on a 4th and 1. Gostkowski again. He had missed 3 field goals and an extra point. This one, after major clock mismanagement from the Broncos, winds up winning it for Tennessee. 16-14 is your final score. Meanwhile, looking back over the course of a first weekend, Tom Brady's Buccaneers career began with a struggle through a pair of interceptions, 3 sacks, an 11-point loss in New Orleans. Here's his new head coach, Bruce Arians, addressing Brady's Week 1 performance.
He looked like Tom Brady in practice all the time, so it's kind of unusual to see that in the ball game because they didn't do the things that we didn't get ready for. Everything they did, we thought we were ready for.
So he kind of threw Brady under the bus there, which surprised me a little, but Jeff Saturday, it didn't surprise you.
No, listen, B.A. is a straight shooter. He does not back down. I played for him in Indianapolis. It doesn't matter if you're Peyton Manning, you're undrafted rookie free agent Jeff Saturday. He's going to rip you. If you're not doing your job, he's going to call you out. He believes in accountability, responsibility to a football team, and he brought Brady in there to change the culture of the organization. And all the things that we had heard coming in, all the things he's doing, then he shows up on Sunday and doesn't have a good performance. He's not going to just let it slide. And he's one of those guys who makes you own it. And it's therapeutic, though, because once you kind of get in that meeting, everybody feels the same, you kind of move on.
Yeah, Dan Graziano, why do I feel like this sounds awfully familiar? A coach who's going to coach Brady hard just like he might any other player. I thought Tom Brady left New England to get away from that, Dan Graziano.
Yeah, if that's one of the reasons he felt underappreciated in New England, if that's one of the reasons he left, then he might have walked into something worse. I think I've told this story before here, but a couple of years ago I was talking to David Johnson when he was in Arizona, and he said when he got there, the veterans on the team told him, Bruce Arians thinks he has the right play call for whatever the defense is, and if it doesn't work, then it's the players that messed it up. And that always stuck with me, and I think you hear it from him. And Jeff's absolutely right. We live in this era where we hear the coach's news conference, and it's, I got to coach better. He shields players from blame. Arians doesn't do that. He answers your question. And he doesn't know why Tom Brady wasn't as good on Sunday as he was in practice, and that's something they're going to have to figure out this week. So, yeah, to Jeff's point, is it refreshing? Yeah, but if you're Tom Brady and you're looking for more love than Bill Belichick was showing you,
especially when Bill and Cam are having this love fest
right?
up Route 95 here in Foxborough. Meanwhile, though, Greg McElroy, I know you might quibble with the idea that Brady didn't look good, and you put together some tape for us to prove it.
Yeah, well, I think there were some forgettable moments, some moments that he'd love to have back, but he's really not that far off. Let's start with the first interception, all right? This is really just him predetermining where he's going with the football. You see that little RPO action trying to influence the weak side linebacker. He predetermines. The weak side linebacker's not fooled. He tries to throw it up and over the top. It results in an interception. Then, this play really bothered me. You're already on the fringe in field goal range. It's a screen. You got Gronk. They sniffed it out. Sometimes the defense wins. Live to play another day. Throw it in the ground. As a result, he tries to do too much. He's got a case of the Carson Wentz right here and should just throw it at the guy's feet. Instead, makes your field goal kicker 6 yards worse. But this is one thing that I looked at, and there were several different examples throughout the course of the game where he was just the tiniest bit off. Trying to throw the ball deep here. The ball is actually going to drift just slightly inside as he tries to hit Mike Evans down the field. That ball missed 50 yards downfield by about a yard, maybe a yard and a half to the inside. They are this close on a few of those big plays. And frankly, when you look at it, his supporting cast didn't exactly bail him out of difficult situations. I thought the separation by his wide receivers, given their talent level, was subpar. I thought the offensive line, particularly on the edges, was very disappointing. He had to move off the spot multiple times. And I didn't think he was afforded by a great offensive plan. So it was by far a problematic issue with some of the throws and decisions he made. But they're correctable, and they'll be able to clean those up here in the coming weeks.
Very quickly, Jeff Saturday, I know that the offensive line is something that you have significant concern about, and that's not necessarily something they can fix quickly.
No, exactly. And listen, you heard him talk about it. He doesn't look the same. Well, practice is a little bit different. When your tackles are keeping guys 3 yards away from you, you feel a whole lot better about stepping into it. Greg just made a point of him having to move off his spot. That's not something I think is going to change throughout this season. They may get a little bit better, but ultimately this offensive line is not one that you're going to say is going to drop back 40 times and keep him clean, right? His jersey's going to get roughed up a little bit. So in essence, this is what you should expect week in and week out. And can Brady, kind of go ahead of this and overplay or outplay his protection?
All right, so that is the Patriots' old quarterback, if you will. Now let's talk about the Patriots' new quarterback, because on Sunday, Cam Newton had 13 designed runs called for himself. On those, 64 yards and 2 touchdowns were the result. For perspective, Tom Brady all of last year had just 10 designed rushes called for him. When asked on WEEI yesterday about the injury risk associated with running the football, here's what Cam said.
Well, that's just been me. Every year, a new discussion comes up about, it's not smart to run, it's not smart to do this, it's not smart to do that. But at the end of the day, I just feel as if whatever necessary way you have to go about winning a football game, that's what you have to do. But yet, through it all, I just got to make a conscientious decision each and every time that I do run the ball, to be smart, not to get kind of ahead of myself and trying to prove a point, and that point being deemed not the smartest thing to do.
Did take a bunch of hits. Dan Graziano, you were there. You covered this game in person. What did you see from that offense, in particular from him running it, and what are you hearing is the sense of how much we should expect to see that continue?
Went into that game thinking the Patriots could lead the league in rushing this year, and I came out of it feeling even better about that kind of prediction, because they have totally revamped their offense around Cam Newton in basically 2 months. It's as if Josh McDaniels had a file full of plays in case he ever had a running quarterback, and he just opened it up and handed them out to Cam Newton when he showed up. So, look, I don't think he's going to run the ball 15 times a game. That's the second most carries he's ever had in a game in his entire NFL career. They felt like they could attack the Dolphins in the middle of the field and use the option stuff they ran, so they did it, and they'll change the game plan week to week as they always do. But fundamentally, they're going to be a run-first team. Unless and until some of those young receivers develop, but everything they do is going to work off of that, and obviously having Cam Newton makes your run game that much more varied and potentially effective.
Well, let me bring the guys back in here, because obviously this begs one enormous question, and Marcus Spears, I will put it to you. 15 rushes in a game for the quarterback. Is that offense sustainable for Cam Newton?
No, G, it's not. And listen, it feels great to see Cam back out there doing it. But recent history tells us this is not the way for Cam to make it through a 16-game season. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, you want Cam to be Cam. Yeah, Cam being Cam recently has had him out for a while and out for seasons. So, no, it's not sustainable. I think this is a one-year thing with the New England Patriots. He progresses in this passing game. They continue to look for ways to kind of continue to build upon that. And to Graz's point, 15 rushes being the most, that's a lot for any quarterback, especially one that's coming off as many injuries as Cam. So Josh McDaniels has his hands full as far as getting Cam to a point where they're pushing the ball down the field, using the middle of the field, and these receivers outside of Julian Edelman have to get better. They have to create separation and see if Cam can matriculate offense that way, because this type of offense with the opponents that they have coming up throughout the rest of this season is not going to be sustainable based on recent history with Cam.
I'm smiling because I'm going to ask Jeff Saturday his thoughts, and there's one thing I've learned. It's that when you ask an offensive lineman if he enjoys when they run the ball, the answer is usually fairly predictable. Do you believe, Jeff, that this offense is sustainable?
It is sustainable. And listen, everybody, I just hear Swagoo talking about he's not going to run it 15 times every week, but this does give this offense a chance to catch up. We always talk about Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots kind of growing and maturing as the season moves on. This will not be what their offense looks like in Week 17. But make no mistake, over the next 3 or 4 weeks, this may be what the call is to win games. What I love about Cam is he's all on board. Whether I got to block, whether I got to run, whether I got to throw, you name it, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win football games. Now, when you talk about sustainability, he's not going to take shots on all 15 of these plays. Like the one that he was going for the end zone, I don't love that shot. But the ones you saw where he's scrambling out in those zone reads where he's pulling it, there's not a whole lot of danger. He can get down without getting crushed in a play. So I like the design. I think McDaniels is going to have a good time with it, and I think it will make their receivers and backs even better in the passing game. So I like the game plan, and I do think it's sustainable.
Greg, what did you see in the passing game?
I thought it was a very conservative plan throwing it. And I thought Cam, for the most part, took exactly what the defense gave him, was smart with the football. And really, the underneath accuracy, I wouldn't say it was necessarily top shelf, but it didn't really have to be. There was enough separation with some of these throws. He only attempted one pass, guys, that traveled more than 15 yards downfield, and he was 0 for 1. So at some point, they're going to have to evolve. So when you ask the question, is it sustainable? I'm not so sure, because when you're doing play action or running the football on 83% of your pass attempts, yeah, that's great when you have a hapless offense on the other side. But when you're going up against a team like the Chiefs, when you're going up against a team like the Ravens and some of the better offenses that you'll see in the AFC, they're going to have to drive the ball down the field. And when you're only doing standard drop back on 17% of your offensive snaps, that's just not good enough. So I thought it was a really encouraging start, but I want to see the passing game evolve to complement that rushing attack as we move forward.
All right, we will see. Again, we have almost wall-to-wall NFL action today, but coming up next, we will get you to the NBA because LeBron James has the Lakers clicking right now. Is another title his to lose? Vince Carter joins us with his thoughts on that and more. Next on Get Up, ESPN.